Welcome back to Opinion Journal. I'm Mary Kissel. Newark Mayor Cory Booker sailed into the U.S. Senate to replace the late Frank Lautenberg yesterday.
That you all have elected me to finish his term makes tonight's honor all the greater for me personally.
And I'm hoping God will be with him in the decisions he makes as he goes into the U.S. Senate in Washington, D.C. And I said to myself, who wants that job anyway?
Pretty big victory there for Cory Booker, about 10 points. I've got New York Post editorial writer Robert George here to talk about how this race went. Robert, does Cory Booker come out of this more or less popular than when he started?
Well, among a certain amount of group, he's going to be very, very popular. You know, he's going to be the ninth African American senator, African American senator, and with Tim Scott, they've now got a caucus of bald African American senators in there. But he was kind of the golden child when this race began, and frankly there are a lot more questions about Cory Booker, about his straightforwardness, his tax returns, things like that. His record in Newark. And so I think there's actually going to be, I have a feeling that the press is going to be putting a little bit more scrutiny on Senator Booker than they did actually Mayor Booker.
Well, we put up the exit polls just now, 10 points about victory.
Yeah, that's a solid victory, except where he came from versus where he ended up. I mean, when this race started, he was up by 30 points over Steve Lonegan, nobody outside of Bogota, New Jersey, where he was mayor, had heard about. And he actually ran a rather strong campaign. And frankly, I think there's some really good questions can be raised. Had the shutdown not happened, how well Lonegan, he could have made it maybe single digits, or maybe he could have even pulled an upset, because there was a lot of momentum before going Lonegan's way before the shutdown, became the big news.
About 30 seconds left. We had a political diary up on the website this morning from my colleague Matt Kaminsky, who talked about the Palin effect, that Lonegan ran as a Tea Party candidate in a state that maybe isn't receptive to that. Do you agree with that assessment? Are there things that Lonegan could have done better?
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily have brought Sarah Palin, because I mean she doesn't really go well in blue states. However, again, going back to the shutdown, had the shutdown not happened, the biggest news in New Jersey over the last few weeks would have been the fact that 800,000 people had to change their insurance because of Obamacare. And if Lonegan was able to focus on that and say he'd be going to New Jersey to fix things like that, it could have been coulda, woulda, shoulda, but still, he ran a good campaign, and Cory Booker, I think, is going to have to be a very focused individual in the Senate for the next year.
Well, Cory Booker is going to have to run again in pretty short order, so We're going to see how that race goes. New York Post editorial writer Robert George, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Mary.